If you don't make the choice to take action, then it doesn't matter who you hire to help or to design or to do. You always have to move in order for you to get there. Today on Growing Hope, we're setting up a guide for the actionable steps so we can be moving to get there.
It's time for Growing Hope, the show determined to grow up hearts open to pursue the extraordinary. Because you are extraordinary! And now, live from a little cabin in the woods, nestled along Big Spring Creek, it's your host, Kathryn Lang.
Hello and welcome to Growing Hope, where we are investing in purpose and on purpose because you are uniquely designed to live bold and to thrive. I am Kathryn Lang, your resident Hope Smith and Dream Igniter, because finding and fueling your big dreams fuels my big dreams. Encouragement is like that. The more you give, the more you get, and the more you can give away. It's only when we start holding back that we begin to see the returns dwindle. Do be invested in encouragement, and you invest in encouragement by investing in encouraging others. It's a simple action, but I promise you amazing returns. And it is going to take action. Everything that we want to do and everywhere we want to go is going to require that we take action. And we have to be willing to invest in purposeful actions that move us in the direction we're attempting to go. The other morning I got up early. I was determined, I was prepared, I was going to get things done, and I started taking purposeful actions. But I was distracted by some squirrel that enticed me down a nearby rabbit hole. I shook off the dirt and I got focused again and I got back on task and I was getting things done, and then there was another squirrel. And before too long, my husband and son were home from school and I had pretty much spent my whole day getting nothing remotely purposeful done. I was just taking actions. I was chasing squirrels. What was worse was I was exhausted from all of that squirrel chasing. Don't be a squirrel chaser. Schedule your actionable steps so you can keep up with where you're stepping. You can utilize a block schedule or to focus on one task at a time. Or you can put time segments to work to tackle little bits of bigger projects or to take down those little chores. You can use the method of 3, where you choose the top 3 and get those things done. You can practice doing the most challenging thing first, or tackle that thing when you're at your peak. And you can practice getting in the habit of doing it now, because if you'll do it now, it'll be done. If you plan your steps, then you'll be more likely to take actionable steps. You won't just be walking. You won't be chasing those squirrels. If you're only moving, you can get caught in a hamster wheel running uphill in the sand wearing flip-flops. You get the picture, right? You're doing a lot, but you aren't getting anything done. That's what happens when you become a squirrel chaser. You end up chasing the squirrels when you don't schedule the steps you know you need to take. And chasing the squirrels doesn't get you anything but exhausted. Chasing those squirrels will not move you closer to your unique design and your purpose, and it definitely will not bring to life your big dream goals. You can only reach your purpose when you are invested in purposeful steps. And you cannot take purposeful steps if you're not aware of what you're doing and how you're going and when you're moving. If you're just doing, then you don't know. You have no clue what's being invested or why it's being invested or where it's being invested. You are just going. I don't mind just going now and then. It's fun to see what I can see. It's kind of like the Dr. Seuss book. Every time I tell a story, there's a little something new in the story. Sometimes I make it up, and sometimes I'm just remembering. But most of the time, especially now, when I am intentionally pursuing something that I know is within my grasp, I want to be purposeful in what I'm doing. And I want you to be purposeful in what you're doing. I want you to take the actions that are going to give your big dreams the wings they need to take off and fly. And that cannot happen if you don't take the time to recognize and schedule the steps. And the schedule can look like whatever you want. We're just going to talk about a few different options that are available out there. Take them, stir them up, make your own. But do schedule the steps so that they are purposeful and intentional, and they move you in a specific direction that's going to get you to your big dreams. It's up to you. If you don't schedule the steps you need to take, then you will end up taking steps you don't mean to take. And sometimes you'll miss those purposeful steps altogether because you've wasted all your time and energy on those meaningless steps. Nothing frustrates me as much as having a great plan, starting early, and ending the day with nothing done. It's happened on more than one occasion. It's happened far too often. But what I found is that no matter how much time I have to work with, if I don't take the time to get a handle on that time and a schedule that's going to keep me focused on what I'm doing, then I will not make the most of the time I have. I do best when I make a schedule to put the actionable steps to work. It also helps to take time to break down your big dreams into those actionable steps and project an amount of time it's going to take for each one. When you do that, it makes locking down a schedule way easier because you already know what you need. So make sure that you are thinking about the time that you're going to have to invest for each of your steps. Now, a block schedule is an excellent tool for managing those large projects. You know, the projects that are large enough that they can't be done in one sitting, but small enough that they can be completed in 1 or 2 days. I think of these as my weekend DIY projects. Those are really my biggest projects that I tackle. So when you are considering the block schedule, think about how much is it going to take to get this done. I made the most use of block schedules when I was still homeschooling the boys, especially when they had activities or co-ops to attend. I knew how many hours I was going to be stuck in one location, and I was going to tackle a specific individual project that would fit into that schedule because that limited the amount of stuff that I was going to have to take with me. Now, sometimes I use the block schedule in an opposite way. I know how much time a project's going to take, and I'll look for that block amount of time to show up in my schedule. And when I notice that it's there, I claim it. Block scheduling is taking a chunk of time and using it specifically for your actionable step. Now, time segments are my favorite method of scheduling ever. I love timers. I love them so much. I have 6 digital timers that are posted throughout the house, and they're all set at different intervals. That way I don't have to change any of them. I just push go. And when I want to get moving, I set a time and I see how much I can get done before the timer goes off. I like the combination of the small dedicated segments of time and especially the challenge of trying to beat the timer. Time segments are what I use to write 1,000,000 words in 1 year. Time segments are also great for holiday meal prep. I mean, the time's already broken down for you. You have the amount of time it's going to take to prepare a dish and the amount of time it's going to take for cooking the dish already recorded in the recipe. Well, if you use recipes. But you probably never thought about the fact that when you're cooking a meal that you're utilizing time segments. But utilizing them is vital if you're going to serve warm dishes, because you have to time when they're all going to come out. So time segments are shorter amounts of time counted down by a clock or an alarm. It's that simple. Now, the rule of 3 can be a simple way to schedule your actionable steps, especially if you're not used to doing this. Instead of making a huge list of to-dos, you're going to write down just 3 things that you want to get done that day. And you're going to focus on doing those 3 things. And that's it. You aren't allowed to do any other projects until you get those 3 done. I'll use the rule of 3 when I'm trying to get the household chores done. I know there's more than 3 items on my chore list. Believe me, I know. But you have to also remember that it's been 2 decades since it's just been me that's been doing all the chores. And now that I'm launching this new avenue with Growing Hope Daily, and I'm building this full-time business with Peculiar Productions, it's exhausting trying to do everything on the list myself. I have fixed it so that my list repeats twice a week, so that helps me as far as getting it all done. But I definitely use the rule of three to get the top things done. So what 3 things do you know you have to get done today? You can use the rule of three to make sure that those are your actionable steps for today. Focusing on the most challenging step is another way to get things done in purpose and on purpose. Or you can tackle that one thing when you're most when you're at your peak. The thing that you're most dreading is what you want to tackle first, or tackle it when you're at your peak. Tackling the hardest or the worst when you are at your peak is what will keep the dread from draining your resources, from stealing your energy and your focus. And by the way, it's okay if your peak time is not first thing in the morning. We're not all morning people. I wasn't a morning people for years. It has slowly been something that has developed in me. So choose your peak time and utilize it. It's your schedule. So always focus on what works for you. Going after the challenging first gets it out of the way, and it gives you room to breathe. And the final way we're talking about to schedule your actionable steps is to do it now. My friend Stephen Henry said to me one time, don't just do it, instead do it. When you add in just, you are not all there. Just is close. It's near. It's almost. We want to be bold and purposeful, and just will not cut it. So do it. Do it now if you're going to get it done. If you walk by trash on the floor on your way through to the next room, pick it up. Throw it away now. If you think of the call you know you need to make that you know is going to be a quick call, just pick up the phone and make the call now. Do it now, and that gets it done. Do it while it's fresh in your mind. But be careful. With the do it now method, it is really easy to get after some squirrels. So make sure that what you're doing now is purposeful actions that are moving you forward. Otherwise, you're just going to have a squirrel party. So there are many different ways to schedule your actionable steps. The ones we talked about today are methods that I personally utilize in my stepping situation. Sometimes I use them all in the same day. Sometimes I don't. But you have to find the method that works for you. You have to plan out the things that are going to get you closer to where you want to be. It's up to you. Now, I have a friend, Tom, who is focused on the one thing at a time. He is all about just one. And so he will tell you that you focus on the one thing, you get it done, and everything else is just gravy, which is great for him. It just does not work for me. So you have to find what works for you, and you can take these methods that I shared, you can mix them up, and you can find a better way for you. But whatever you find, share, because it is in sharing and growing together that we begin to find things that we would never have imagined on our own. And that's going to get us moving closer to our big dreams. It's up to you to determine your way to take your actionable steps, but share what you're learning so others can learn from what you're sharing. That's how we get there. I have, now that I'm home alone most of the day, and I'm having to adjust the menu schedule, because for the longest time it's 3 meals a day, 5 to 6 days a week, and then leftovers the rest of the time. But I can't do leftover days anymore because we don't have leftovers the way we used to have leftovers. So now I'm having to readjust, and I'm doing it with the time segments instead of with the block schedule. I used to do menus using the block schedule, and I have a once a month cooking block, and I would cook brown stuff, get everything prepped and ready to go. But I can't do that anymore. I'm having to find a new way. And that's just life. Sometimes you just have to find a new way. Sometimes that way is going to get cloudy and confusing and frustrating. But hope is going to make the difference. Hope is going to be what allows you to take the step. Hope is going to be what allows you to hold on to your focus. And hope is going to be what fuels possibility thinking. You're going to need hope if you're going to go. And if you're going to get there, you're going to have to go. Again, even with all the hope to fuel your journey, you're still going to have to take the step to get there. The only way for you to get there, ever, is for you to go. No matter where your there is, you're going to have to take the purposeful actions to make it happen. To avoid getting tangled in activities that steal your focus and waste your resources, you have to find a schedule that keeps you on track. You have to schedule your actionable steps so that you're doing intentionally and on purpose what is going to lead you where you want to go. You can use the block schedules. They're great for chunks of time. You can use the time segments. Those are perfect if you like challenges. You can use the limited method of 3. That'll keep you focused on the top things you need to get done. And you can practice the challenge first, or the most difficult first, if you want to get something that you dread done. Because if you'll get it over with, you'll save your energy. And you can always do it now. Just don't get distracted in doing everything and missing out on the intentional. So there are many different ways to get things done. And you can even mix and match like we've talked about. These are just 5 methods. Find your way within it. Other people are going to tell you what's the best way, just like Tom Rigsby, the unashamed nonconformist, likes to say. But just because it works for him doesn't mean it will work for you. And just because these methods work for me doesn't mean they'll work for you. It is why you have to find your way. Again, my favorite, the timers. I love the challenge. Creating your schedule is like any big dream. The more that you're willing to invest and pursue, the better you're going to get in pursuing it. For me, I like the time segments because I'll put a lot on my plate. I like the idea of attempting to do the impossible every day. Just like with the big dream planning, it's a little scary and a little impossible. That's just the way I roll. It makes me happy. And getting any of it done makes me feel accomplished. But not everybody is like that. What is the way you get things done? How do you avoid the squirrels? Please share your ideas with me. Join me over at the Growing Hope Radio Facebook page for a visit and a talk and a chat so I can know what you're doing, and then I can maybe take that and apply it in my own journey. You can also visit growinghoperadio.com to share any of your ideas or suggestions. Now, I am a world-class squirrel chaser. So much so that my children gave me a mug, a coffee mug that says the Squirrel Whisperer. There are those days when I desperately need to get things done and I have to keep my focus and I have to take purposeful action. And I do okay with a schedule, but then there's those days when I forget to look at the schedule, and as I walk through the house from one room to the other, I forget by the time I get to the end what I was going for in the first place, and then I can't figure out what I did with my water bottle. Just ask my husband. I always lose my water bottle or my glasses. In the first place, my family always tells me to look is on my head for my glasses, not my water bottle. But here's the thing. When I stay with my focus folder system and I write down and I keep my schedule on hand so I can see it, I get things done. If I start the day off with a schedule and I keep my focus on that schedule, I get things done. You define your schedule, and when you define your schedule, you will begin to take your actionable steps to get there. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Growing Hope. Remember that every day holds a promise of more, and every day holds the power of possibility. It's not up to the world, it's up to you. You can if you will. Until next time, remember, be blessed, be a blessing.
Thank you for joining us for Growing Hope with Kathryn Lang, where we are sharing hope, encouragement, and inspiration to do more. Visit www.kathrynlang.com to invite Kathryn to be part of your event or to share your own stories of possibility living. Until next time, remember that a seed of hope planted and nurtured will grow up into a world of possibilities.